Johannesburg started an investigation last year to uncover the reasons behind the estimated 200 million rand losses made on the city's revenue collections. Yesterday, the Executive Mayor of Johannesburg announced that 22 arrests have been made, which were related to 109 cases of corruption, fraud and tampering with the city's systems. Amongst those arrested, 2 of them were City Power employees and 2 were employees of the City of Johannesburg. For more on this, we are joined by the Executive Mayor of Johannesburg, Councillor Mpho Parks Tau. Good to have you. Welcome to the program, Mayor. Thank you for being our guest. Give us a little bit of background as to how this investigation all started.
Well, we initially realized that there were some dips on the revenue side in the City of Johannesburg, and we initiated a forensic investigation to determine what the loss of revenue is as a result of. We then uncovered that there are a number of scams that are taking place within the city, and a number of our employees and external service providers were involved in a scheme to defraud the city through the metering system at City Power. We've now also uncovered a bit at Joburg, what I should say, but it initially started at City Power, where through collusion between employees of the City of Johannesburg, contractors and employees amongst our service providers, amongst others, we had a scheme where people were essentially manipulating the meters, changing meters irregularly, installing meters that are not supposed to be installed. In certain instances, we found that large power users are getting prepaid meters of domestic users, that people are paying for domestic rates when they are supposed to be paying commercial rates. And those are the sort of schemes that people were engaged in. And we then launched an investigation and worked quite closely with the National Anti-Corruption Task Team, with the NPA, the Hawks and the South African Police Services to look into all the activities that have been taking place. And after a year of intense investigations, we can say that we have been able to make now 24 arrests. We anticipate a further 2 arrests today and a further 4 next week. We have been able to recover 107 million rands to date. And we've been able to launch about 109 cases. So they might not be individuals to be arrested, but these are individual dockets that have been opened as a result of the fraud and corruption taking place.
Well, that's a very positive outcome. I mean, it's an awful story, but at the end of the day, with this investigation, it's cracking down on what these guys are doing, and the outcomes have been quite significant.
The outcomes have been quite good, and I should say that we've had a lot of cooperation amongst members of the public, property owners who've come to us. Some of them have come voluntarily, some of them as a result of realizing that the city is undertaking investigations, auditing some of the meters, and they've come and said, look, we've been approached by this individual who installed this meter and we think it's irregular. And we do continue encouraging people to go to City Power, to engage with our internal audit unit at City Power, so that they are able to bring these cases to our attention and we're able to continue uncovering cases of corruption.
What are the types of punishment that you face? Firstly, if you decide to come forward, what are the penalties? But if you don't decide to come forward and you are found doing these illegal connections, what are the repercussions?
Well, the first is a criminal charge. It is fraud and corruption, so we will pursue it as a criminal charge. We're working very closely with the National Anti-Corruption Task Team, as I said, and the Hawks and National Prosecuting Authority to ensure that people are brought to book. So from that point of view, it's important that we deal with it as a criminal offense.
So inevitably you will go to jail?
You will go to jail.
Yeah.
We've had people that have been arrested. We've had people that are continuing to face prosecution. Some of them have already been convicted. And we anticipate a lot of convictions as a result of the arrests that have been made. I should say that we've found in certain instances some individuals who are serial fraudsters who can be arrested today. When they are granted bail, tomorrow would actually undertake the same crime. So there are repeat offenders that are serial fraudsters that we are now targeting. But the most important thing is that we are also taking action against our own employees, because we find that they manipulate data in the system. And through manipulating the data, they make it more difficult for us to trace the fraudsters. Or they essentially take out meters irregularly out of the system. They do not register that a meter has been dispatched, and they go and install a meter without due authorization. And the customer is left with a situation where, in certain instances, they might even expect that this is a regularly installed meter, when in fact it's been irregularly installed. Of course, what people should be aware of is that individual employees cannot come to you and say, we can change your meter, just pay us a cash arrangement that can help this go away. Because in reality, that is a mechanism of defrauding the system. They might be able to do it because they have contacts in the organization. But now that we've been able to trace it and we're auditing it, we're finding a lot of cases where we know that this individual employee has been manipulating the system so that they can prevent our access to knowledge of who is undertaking the fraud.
And what's happening on that front? I mean, how do you prevent that going forward?
Well, we've now introduced additional controls on our systems. We've tried to ensure that there's regular reconciliations between the metering and the billing system. We ensure that there are regular audits on the system so that we can see where there's a dip in consumption on a particular consumer. We can now follow up because there are now things that kind of bring to our attention the sense that there's something significantly irregular on this account, and we can be able to follow up.
Okay.
So, and it's both the large power users and domestic users. We're currently focusing a lot of our energy on the large power users because that's where the bulk of the money is lost. But we've also found a few cases of domestic consumers where people have gone to people and said, we can change your meter and make your bill go away, so to say. Okay. And in reality, people are in arrears. So instead of making arrangements to pay off their arrears, they kind of make a side arrangement that makes their arrears go away, as these employees would go to them and say.
Okay, now here is the million-dollar question. So we've spoken about these illegal connections and everything that's gone around that. Let's talk about billing and how is it going in the City of Johannesburg with these insane bills that people have been getting, and it's been frustrating the residents here. Has this come to an end? We even heard about the President speaking about it in the State of the Nation address. It's been going on for way too long now. Please, Mayor, has this been sorted out? Well,
I can say to a large extent it has been. There are two incidents that have caused concern over the past 2 months. The first relates to a situation where, without communicating, our team essentially backdated deposits that were unpaid. So people suddenly found that they were supposed to pay deposits for metered services, and these deposits were unpaid. I should say that for us as the mayoral committee, it's unjustifiable. At least that our team should have ensured that you communicate with people to ensure that there's awareness that there is a gap in your account with regards to deposit paid. Not that people suddenly get a deposit with an instruction to come and make arrangement. And we've said to our team that we think it's very unfortunate that enough communication wasn't undertaken to deal with that particular problem. But that deals with a situation where it's not an irregularity on the bill itself, it's the fact that because there wasn't a deposit, we've had to correct that situation. But it still doesn't justify why enough communication wasn't undertaken. But there's also been a situation with regards to double vetting. So VAT was charged from Pick It Up, and VAT was charged from the billing department, so to say. So instead of paying 14% VAT, people were billed about 20% VAT. That's been reversed. But those are not systemic problems. Those are problems with regards to how we dealt with individual situations where simply an individual added VAT on VAT, and we've had to reverse that. But my sense is that if you track the number of queries, if you track the number of irregularities, that these have gone down significantly. If you look at, and we're looking at the numbers of people whose changed meters have been uploaded on the system, this has gone up significantly. We're now left with slightly less than 2,000 people whose meters were changed but were not loaded onto the system. Okay. This is significantly different from the situation we experienced 2-3 years ago, where you had a significant number of people certainly getting
All right, Mayor, we have to leave it there, but thank you for updating us on what's going on at the moment. The Executive Mayor of Johannesburg, Parks Tau, talking to us here on Morning Live. Thank you again. All right, time now for your sports news. Valen, it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Diane. Good morning. Let's start with rugby news. The Sharks' much vaunted Currie Cup strength goes on trial this weekend, albeit without their Springboks. The defending champions have a tough mission in Kimberley first up, but they're champing at the bit to kickstart their 2014 campaign on the front foot.
The pressure's on to produce. The Sharks haven't had as much time to prepare for this competition as their competitors, given their success in the Super Rugby tournament. But energy levels are high. They'll need to be on top of their game. The Griquas are a tough assignment.
We know it's going to be a physical battle up there, and by having five forwards on the bench, it gives us the opportunity to bring some fresh legs on in the second half. So we're bracing ourselves for a forward onslaught.
8 of their players are on national